2017 iPad 6 months later. That video's coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and I've had the iPad 2017 for about 6 months, and in this video I want to share with you my experience. If you are looking to buy this iPad, go ahead and buy it. It's a great iPad. Have a great day and see you later. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, let's talk about the design, the body, and the build of this guy. So Apple went ahead and decided to make a more budget-friendly iPad option earlier this year, and now on Black Friday this thing has dropped from under $300 all the way down to $250. So you have yourself quite a steal here with an iPad that feels quite premium. So the body itself, over my past 6 months, just like any other Apple product, it feels very nice, and I'm really shocked that you can get this kind of build quality at $250. So go look for an Android tablet that's going to give you this kind of quality at $250. And I'm not praising Apple here just because it's Apple. Take the Apple logo off, throw it in the trash can, and you still have yourself a premium feeling laptop or tablet here for $250. So design, the body, and the build, pretty strong. I got no scratches on it, and if you go with the white one, you're less likely to see anything when it comes to scratches and stuff like that. So I would recommend getting this color, or I think they have a gold color, correct me if I'm wrong, on this guy. So that's how I feel about the body and the build. It's been fantastic over the past 6 months. So using the iPad 2017 or 2017 iPad, however you want to call it, the display, how has the display been? And you know, to be honest, there's a gap between the display. We all know this by now with this iPad. It's not laminated, so what that means is it's slightly behind the panel. It's not pushed up to the glass as it looks like on other iPad Pros and stuff like that, and it doesn't feel, you know, quite as smooth as the 120 hertz iPads. But when you're actually consuming content, when you're actually using this thing, you kind of forget about that and you get immersed into the iOS experience. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I had the iPad 2, I have the iPad Pro 9.7, which I still use because it supports the Apple Pencil, which I like to use from time to time. I did have the iPad 10.5, which I thought could replace a small computer. Still not there yet for me. And I gotta be real with you, the displays on every one of them didn't really look that much different, even on this cheaper version that you can get here for about $250 on Black Friday. So this guy right here is a fantastic purchase when it comes to display as well. Unless you're actually pixel peeping and looking for these things, I haven't had no issues with it. Now, I did notice that the laminated displays looked a little better with the True Tone feature. You don't get that here on this iPad, so it does have a little bit of a cooler look to the display. But overall, still pretty good quality here for what you're gonna pay. I mean, I don't really see any other tablets in this price range that are this good and this quality at this price point. All right, so I do wanna take a second to talk about the software with the 2017 iPad in the past 6 months. So when I first got this thing, it was running iOS 10, and iOS 10 to me, you know, iOS before iOS 11 wasn't amazing for iPads. It did work well, you know, applications work, but now you have the file system, you have the dock, and the iPad experience with iOS 11 is actually better than it is on the smartphones. The smartphones are cool and all, you know, they have some bugs and stuff, but the iPad experience is even better because you can now do stuff like have a application store open, for example. You can pull this up and you could bring in multitasking like so. You can have two things running side by side. You can also go ahead and take this right here and you can put it to the side. You can also drag and drop files here on iOS 11. So I actually think it gets much better on this iOS 11, and you're gonna get this iPad shipped with this software. So while this probably is not powerful enough to replace a full-on workstation PC or an iMac, you know, 27-inch, 21-inch, whatever, or even a MacBook Pro, it's getting to the point where it's getting darn near there. And if you're a light user, you get a keyboard for this actually might be able to replace it if you're able to print stuff through Wi-Fi and things like that. If you need printing, if you do need to use like Word documents, you got Microsoft Word on here. You still have Google Docs. I mean, there's a lot you can do with an iPad these days. So software overall is a win here in my past 6 months. I still think that maybe the Surface Pro is a little bit more productivity oriented, but there's nothing like the app ecosystem for the iPad. It's incredible. So let's talk about performance. What has my experience been like with performance on this guy? And it's actually been quite good. It's got an A9 CPU with 2 gigabytes of RAM. We already know that iOS is optimized and runs well for its system, hardware, and software combined, but I don't think this is the most powerhouse iPad, meaning if you're running like multiple tabs in your browser and you're doing stuff in the background, this might choke up a little bit. Now, if you're just running 5 to 10 apps at a time and you're not, you know, doing a whole bunch at once, a whole bunch of multitasking, you're not gonna see any glitch or lag with this guy, it should be pretty smooth nonetheless. So I'm not gonna say you're gonna get top-notch performance. That's reserved for the iPad Pro 12.9. It has 4 gigs of RAM, but it's still gonna be enough for a few apps here and there, watching a movie here and there, doing some typing here and there. It's not, it's not weak at all. It's a pretty powerful device, just not gonna be the best if you're running like 100 tabs on your browser and then you gotta go through some multitasking and then you're still running a game in the background. You may be video rendering. It might choke up a little bit from time to time. That's what I've experienced. But overall, when I'm just using the iPad as an iPad, media, surfing, and things like that, I've never had a lag whatsoever. All right, guys, so what about the battery life on the iPad 2017? And I can tell you right now, it's actually better than the battery life on my Pro, and that's probably because it has less power. It's a little more efficient. So I get about 11 hours of on-screen time. If you're not using, who's really using their iPad 11 hours straight? Now, I'm not judging you. If you do that, that's cool. If you watch movies all day, hey, that's your life. Do what you got to do. But I don't use this thing 11 hours straight. I'm telling you that right now. This thing lasts me easily 2 to 3 days. So battery life, don't sweat it. This can replace a laptop. It's actually better than pretty much any laptop I've tested, including my MacBook Pro. It can go much longer than that. So great battery life all day easily. 2 days for most, 3 days if you're a light user. So let's talk about the audio on 2017 iPad. Is it good audio? Short answer, yes. Is it great audio? Short answer, no. So you don't have 4 speakers like you do on the iPad Pro here. As you can see at the top, if you do decide to pick this up, notice that you do still have your headphone jack. That's a rarity on the Apple line. But if you go over here on the bottom, you can see that you do have your speakers at the bottom. They're loud enough to not have to use headphones. They're crisp enough to do that as well. And if you're in a pretty quiet room, they're gonna be fine. But these are not speakers that you're gonna put this iPad in the other room, walk to the other room, and you're gonna hear it playing. It's not that loud. So they're decent, they get the job done. I still would recommend that you get yourself or use yourself some headphones if you want to really immerse yourself into this iPad. But audio quality on the whole, I think is, if you had to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. Whereas the Pro line is more like a 9.5, close to a 10 out of 10. All right, so let's talk about that camera quality on the Apple iPad from 2017. It's an 8 megapixel camera. It's very similar to the one that comes on the iPhone 6. And let me tell you, I probably used it about 2 times. So it really doesn't matter that it's amazing or not. It's actually not an amazing camera, but it actually can beat most really cheap Android phones, and it's actually very usable. I wouldn't be disappointed to use this camera if the family was over and I want to take a picture of everybody. I wouldn't have been disappointed to use this camera. It's definitely gonna do the job, and it's gonna do the job better than most cheap phones, like I said earlier. So, front-facing camera, not the greatest. Again, there's quite a bit of noise in both cameras, but again, it's not too horrible. It's usable. So they threw in usable cameras on here. So if you buy this guy, you're getting some usable cameras. You could probably even make a YouTube video on the rear camera, and you could put it in 1080p. Most people probably wouldn't even notice that you filmed with an iPad. So like I say, it's not amazing, but it is usable. It's functional. So let's go to the camera and photo settings here. I'm gonna go there. You can see you can shoot up to 1080p at 30 FPS. So not a lot of options. The Pro does get way more options, but again, decent camera nonetheless. So that wraps it up. 6 months later with the 2017 iPad. I really wanted to shoot this video because this iPad is on sale at a lot of retailers for $250 coming up next week on Black Friday, and that is a steal for that price. I'm telling you, as someone who's been using this for the better half of 6 months, I can't get the iPad off the table for some reason. For the better half of 6 months, it is a fantastic device. You get the premium build quality that you're used to from iPad. You get the, the nice Touch ID scanner on here, albeit it is first gen, it's still fast enough. You get the app ecosystem, and you get a display that is still Retina, it's still sharp, it still looks good, and its battery life is phenomenal. Plus iOS 11 and future updates. This is a steal at $250. Never have we had the opportunity to buy an iPad at $250, and however you're gonna use this, that's really up to you. But there was a time when you couldn't touch an iPad for less than $500. So go get you one if you're interested. If you're not and you just want to know how this iPad's doing right now, it's doing great. And if you found this video helpful, enjoyable, do me a favor, click the like button for me. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.